Bruv. What the hell, man? Oh, I can't be bothered. I actually can't be bothered. I'm not gonna lie. Ah, goodness. Can you hear me? No sound. It should be sound now. I did have my mic muted. Give it a sec. There's a bit of a delay. I think the sound should work. Got sound. Okay. Man. F this morning. Alright? First of all, let's get that out of the way. Let's make that clear right now. This is definitely a matrix attack. I'll tell you why. So, every time I go live, I open OBS, I click manage broadcast, I change the thumbnail, maybe change the title if I'm feeling, you know, super full of beans. And then I hit start streaming and it works. And then today we do all of those same steps and bruv, it just ruins my whole day. So yeah, anyway. Oh goodness, what happens if I press this? Did I ruin it right there? Wait, yeah, okay. Are we good? Are we still getting matrix attacked? Did it disconnect? I don't even know what's going on anymore. Sound on. Alright, I don't know. Alright, I guess we'll just move on. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. Do you want the chat here? Yeah, normally people want the chat. We'll see if I can find the chat. What about that? How's that looking? Got some chat? Okay, good. Oh, dearie me. We just don't need this right now, right? There you go. Here's some chat. Alright, whatever. Alright, let's try and actually get some value going. So yeah, you can hear me, you can see the chat, right? Let me just check. I've got to just make sure I don't end up like making this worse by leaking some stream keys or anything like that. All right, that's out the way. And this looks fine. So I'm going to go to my actual working browser. All right, yeah, I think we're still good, right? We don't need this. We don't need this. Okay, I try and bring this back. So, welcome to the Camel Finance live stream, and we we have finally defeated the Matrix attack. So, today what I wanted to talk about is a few kind of gold-related tabs. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Is it over? The Bitcoin to gold ratio, what I think is going to happen, okay? And hopefully we can find some value in here somewhere. Don't know what that is. Yeah, okay, so this should be okay. So the first thing I wanted to point out, okay, is Polymarket currently puts a 6% probability of seeing aliens this year than Bitcoin hitting 200k, which is only at 5% probability. I thought that was kind of hilarious. But it does mean that right now, the market in aggregate, okay, thinks 200k is off the table with 95% confidence, according to Polymarket. People do not think 200k is possible. And they might be right. I think I'm almost in this camp of people now, but often that's a sign. When my sentiment sours, then we're usually close to a turn. It takes a lot to sour my sentiment. Speaking of soured sentiment, okay, we have reached extreme fear, and whilst I don't really care for this metric, I much prefer FOMO Finder, I think this time it's probably about right, okay? So whilst we're here, we might as well check FOMO Finder and see if we've got some more purple on the chart, which I suspect we must be getting close to it if it's not there already. Always takes a second. Here we go. Okay, well, apparently this is still imbalanced and not really any signs of purple yet, which is somewhat concerning, but we did get a few flashes during this Dalai Lama pattern. We are also going to talk about the Dalai Lama pattern as well. Just give me a moment though, because first I wanted to kind of point at this meme, right? So 1800 gold, no one, right? 4200 gold, people are queuing. Now, the funny thing about this, okay, is this is actually literally true right now, okay? People are queuing to buy gold. And to use the kind of younger people's terminology, this is blow off top type shit, right? That's what this is, absolutely, categorically. And I wanted to point this out because it's actually not often you will see a herd mentality like this. Bubbles occur, for sure. Parabolic blow off tops happen relatively commonly. And we, of course, get euphoria, greed, and FOMO and complacency when these bubbles happen. But it is quite rare that you will see it take hold this strong, where you get normies out in the wild queuing to buy gold at the top. okay? And they are literally doing this, by the way, as you've probably seen. In places like Australia, they are queuing down the street, okay? In places, here it is again, I think this is still Australia. And in places like Vietnam, they're literally fighting, right? They're arguing and fighting to push past each other to go and top tick gold, physical gold at $4,300 an ounce. Now, I haven't seen bubble sentiment like this extreme, where we're talking about literally fulfilling the prophecy of these memes in the literal sense that people are queuing to buy gold at $4,300. Okay, I haven't seen this kind of bubble since 2017 when the crypto bubble happened back then. And I remember going into a Weatherspoons, which is just this like little cheap chain pub in the UK we have, and everyone in there was talking about Bitcoin. And I remember walking in there and being like, what the hell? Like, this was all the way back in 2017. Everyone was talking about it. It was mad. So it's very rare that you actually get to see this kind of thing. And I do think it's worth keeping a note of, okay? Because you definitely don't want to be in amongst this crowd of people going to top tick gold now. Okay, what you do want to do is be recognizing this so we can take the opposite side of the trade. Because remember, it's at the inflection points that it pays to take the opposite side of the crowd. You definitely don't want to be in this crowd. You want to be noticing this crowd and pointing it out so that you can do the opposite. Now, at the same time, we've got JP Morgan out here talking about gold could potentially hit 10K. And I wanted to point at this whole thing in aggregate so far and say, this is actually what I was expecting to see for Bitcoin. I was expecting to see people sort of queuing to buy Bitcoin. Obviously, we're not going to get physical queues, but you get the idea. People stampeding to buy it. I was expecting to go out to the pub for lunch and hear people talking about it on the tables next to me. I was expecting to see people start to, like Jamie Dimon, for example, talk about 5, 6, 7, 800K Bitcoin. And instead, the blow off top has showed up in the gold market, which I think is pretty funny. I also think it's pretty funny that some of the traders online that have caught this move alongside the Camel Crew are now jumping up and down and kind of taking victory laps and talking about how this market's got a lot of legs left in it and that kind of thing. And I actually don't agree. I think this is, again, blow off top type stuff. And I don't think that this blow off top in gold has much more room left in it. Now, how does this kind of tie into Bitcoin? Okay, well, a lot of people are pointing at this massive head and shoulders. This is Bitcoin priced in gold. Okay, they're pointing at this big head and shoulders top pattern, trend line support breaking down. This is the weekly time frame, new lower low. Now, it hasn't closed the week yet, but looks like it probably will. Okay, and trend line breakdown, I think I already said that. This is a pretty bearish looking chart. Now, if you put Bitcoin priced in silver, you get practically the same chart, except it's already well into a bear market. It's like way lower down. But I do want to point something out here, okay? In terms of the weekly cycle spacing, the spaces between here and here and here and here and here and here, all of these are weekly cycles, are pretty equal, okay? And therefore, I make the case that we are probably in the neighborhood to see a weekly cycle low soon on this chart. Now, at the same time, if you think about it, because gold, let's pull up a different chart here so we can show this. Just turn this off a sec. Right, because gold looks like this and people are now queuing to top tick it, okay, it tells me that we are days away, let's say a couple of weeks at the most, away from a major top and a reversal. And if I turn my kind of scribbles back on, again, if you've been following the channel for any length of time, this is not really a surprise. There's yellow fractal, right? We know that potentially we're going to be gapping up in the next few sessions and then the thing's going to top and come tumbling down. Now, that's really important for this Bitcoin to gold ratio because right now, this looks extremely bearish. It is extremely bearish, but it's breaking trendline support into a weekly cycle low timing window at a time when people are queuing to buy gold, okay? So what can we deduce from this? Well, gold is likely to scream a bit higher first, make everyone jump up and down, extreme euphoria, greed, complacency, and then violently reverse, okay? Because that's what happens in bubbles. That's what happens with blow off top structures. So if gold can do something like this and at least lose this fourth angle and probably the third, get down to the second angle, okay, back to 3,300, then that's about 25 to 30% decline. That will already put Bitcoin's ratio here to gold back up in this neighborhood. Okay, so already this will look like a fake breakdown and we'll have the making of a failed head and shoulders top pattern. That's the first sign of encouragement, okay? But as you're going to see in a minute, if on top of that, we can actually get gold hit a weekly, if on top of this, we can actually get Bitcoin find itself a weekly cycle low and reverse into the end of the year, then we actually have the making here, I believe, of a complete flippening. like a complete reversal in this chart. This can move up towards 60 or even 65, and almost no one will see this coming because the sentiment right now is extreme euphoria on gold and extremely bearish on Bitcoin. Now, I know a lot of people don't think this is possible, but again, let me reiterate before we move on. First things first, this is a trendline breakdown, historically bearish, but there's an exception to when this is bearish, and it is when it is the... Can't talk. The exception to when this is a... wait, my brain has stopped working. Okay, let me start from scratch. Trendline breakdowns are bearish, of course, okay? But the exception to when they are bearish is when we have breakdowns into major cycle low windows, in which case we look for this to be expected and to form a trap, and then it will reverse, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, as I said, this, if you think about it, because it's Bitcoin priced in gold, is responding to the downside because gold is significantly outperforming Bitcoin. But we also know, objectively speaking, gold is going vertical and people are queuing to buy it. This is bubble stuff, okay? So this is soon to reverse, okay? This is just how market psychology works. Even if it has to scream up to 6K first, okay, and get that done in the next 2 weeks, then it's going to have a nasty correction. And so as it has a nasty correction, what we will of course see is this ratio bottom. Now, in addition, it will have bottomed into a weekly cycle low window, same as all these prior weekly cycles, which are all equidistant, right? And then we should be able to get at least some relief just from, even if Bitcoin stays still, this is my point, even if Bitcoin continues to trade between 100 and 105K, and gold just pulls back 25-30%, we will get this ratio start to look like this, okay? And then all we need to do to see this thing break to new highs, okay, and for Bitcoin to keep doing Bitcoin things, is for Bitcoin to catch a weekly cycle low in its dollar pairing and then blast higher. So I hope that's clear. Now, why do we think, what is the case for Bitcoin moving higher in its dollar pairing? So right now, again, in the dollar pairing, this does not look good, does it? This looks like a failed Dalai Lama. In fact, let me check the Dalai Lama chart, which was on Bybit. I mean, it's still valid because it's not a lower low, right? If I go to this time frame in here, it is still valid because until such time as it produces a new lower low, then it still, technically speaking, could Dalai Lama its way out of it, right? It could still do, let's grab this arrow, could still do this. But it looks unlikely that that's going to be the case now. It looks a lot like this is going to be a failed Llama pattern. And so what do we know from this? Well, then we know we have to go and see where the cycle lows are, okay? Now, if let's hide some stuff here to make this a bit clearer. Take that off. It looks a lot to me like what we've got here, okay, is a daily cycle, we knew about that, and now we are heading for yet another daily cycle, okay? It looks a lot like this. Because this cycle low is already going to be lower than this one, okay, then we're going to have to relabel that to the weekly cycle, and that makes a lot of sense because this weekly cycle, although it was good for detecting underlying momentum to the upside here, okay, it's very early in the scheme of things, right? My manual count is not due till this kind of neighborhood. So because of that, there's a good chance that when this low picks, we will repaint the weekly cycle low and then we'll have tucked it behind us, okay? And at the same time that this is happening, okay, we have also got the S&P 500 with its first real candidate for a weekly cycle low flush. All we really need to see from here is this, the second drive in the undercut, and that's it. We'll have a true weekly cycle reset. It'll be around week 27, 28, something like that, so that's perfect. It'll be the first true decline we've had in a while, the first viable two-drive setup, and everything will be synced up to rip higher to the upside. Now, I will say this is kind of the last chance saloon, at least for me, right? Now, many people out there are championing Q1 tops, many people are championing Q2 tops, many people are championing no more 4-year cycles, no more bear markets. That's not how I'm rolling with this, okay? How I'm rolling with this is we've got a bunch of cycles lining up to bottom here. I think potentially what we've got at the end of this month is not only the daily cycle, which will be about 60 days from here to here, let's say, right, about that, end of the month. That's a daily cycle. I also make the case that's the weekly cycle from here to here. And you'll notice that we've got the 106-day count times 2, okay? Now, that's always plus or minus a week, but when we flip it onto the weekly time frame and go here, it looks like we've got a good chance here to get a 106-day bottom, right? A true weekly cycle low reset. Now, at this point, we will get a counter trend wobble, at least, right? Worst case scenario, we will get at least a little bit of counter trend bounce here, left translation and failure. But at least then we can move the true bull market invalidation up from here to here. And it's far too late in the 4-year cycle to be kind of entertaining, oh, well, let's just keep pushing the trade until it becomes unreasonable to do so, right? Like once this low is in and we get a swing painted on the weekly time frame, I have to move up my bull market invalidation from here to here because of how close we are to this 4-year cycle low. So a lot of people won't be confident with that. I could see apparently some people are telling me online, Bob Lucas is getting extremely cautious here. I think his level is around 100K to start locking in. Now, I always push my trades a little bit harder and a little bit longer than Bob does, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just two different styles. But for me, I can justify saying, because we've still got higher highs and higher lows on the weekly time frame, okay, I can justify saying, well, I'll stay long, wait for another 2 weeks till we get to the end of this month, wait for this cycle low to form and wait for a reversal, and then I'll use that as my bull market invalidation. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. If you're not, then you probably need to sell now, okay? And but it's your money, it's your risk profile, it's your risk tolerance, right? For me, I'm totally okay with saying I'm going to see this daily cycle low and this weekly cycle low in, and once we get a little reversal, then I'll draw a line underneath that, and if we do violate after that, if we do get some failed cycles after this low is in at the end of the month, then I personally can't justify holding. I don't really believe we're going to do this, right? Weekly cycle low, bounce, fail, and then somehow end up at new highs. I just don't think so. I think we're too late in the 4-year cycle. And for me, if we were to do this, bounce and fail, that's it, right? We're in a bear market and we're going to remain in a bear market until the 4-year cycle low is due. So again, I'm totally open and okay and accepting of I'm risking a bit here to see if we get this, okay, and then this. If you're not comfortable in that, then you probably have to do some damage control here. But technically speaking, it's just the nature of the beast because of how volatile it is, okay? We haven't got a true trend change until this 74K level because everything else is still higher highs and higher lows. Now, a lot of people won't want to hold all the way down to 74K before selling or lightening up, and I totally understand that, but it is what it is, right? Those are the actual levels on the chart. So if you want to get out sooner, by all means, that's your prerogative. Like I said, for me, I'm waiting for this weekly cycle just to see if we can get a run into the end of the year and then do this weekly cycle low, 4-year cycle low, and off we go. Okay, I still think we could possibly get this, something like this. I do think that's on the table. But again, to each their own, right? We will have to manage our own capital. We will have to be acceptable with whatever risk we're taking here. And 100% is still the case for me that is the bull market invalidation. It's a long way down, but it just is what it is, right? So that's how I'm seeing the situation. And then to tie this back here again, remember, we should be in a weekly cycle low window, should be getting that fake breakdown, and gold should be about to top, forcing this back here. And then if at the same time, approximately speaking, the next couple of weeks, what we can see is this yellow squiggle play out, weekly cycle low and a push, well, that will indeed send this ratio up into the 60 to 65 neighborhood, right? It would actually make it there. So it wouldn't actually be too far detached from the overall expectations. It would just be quite a problem child to deal with, okay? And of course, the other scenario is that we get here based on the gold top, and then Bitcoin, instead of doing this, ends up, let's move this out the way, ends up doing this, right? Roll over, fail, heading for the weekly cycle, roll over, fail, heading for the yearly cycle and the weekly cycle. If it does this, then of course, going back to this chart, it will actually look much probably more like this, right? And then probably a breakdown, I would think. Because I would think this is going to lose more value to the downside than gold does. But my point is, it certainly won't look like this up to 65, will it? So does that make sense? I think that should make sense, hopefully. I think the real problem here is it's easy for me to say this because I'm totally okay with betting on this. And if it does fail from here, well, fine, I'll just sell lower down, right? I don't actually have a problem with that. But I know a lot of people are really going to get sort of paralyzed. They're going to have analysis paralysis. They're going to not be able to make their decisions, not be able to act on this or whatever. And, you really have to have a conversation with yourself about that. Okay, because it's no good kind of just being like, oh, okay, I understand these two scenarios, but then you just freeze up and don't take any action at all, right? You have to know what you're going to do ahead of time. You have to have your lines in the sand. And for me, like I said, that's still this level. And once this cycle lows in, it becomes immediately wherever that level is. Okay. And I'm okay with that. But if you're not, then you can't just blindly copy me, right? You've got to kind of figure out what's right with you. This is absolutely right for me, but again, it's definitely not going to be right for a lot of people out there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover before I check back in on some comments. Weekly Brexit cross, how's that looking? Close to a turn, right? Supports this idea that we haven't actually seen the weekly cycle low. And well, we know we haven't yet because we've got a new lower low, right? We could have countered it from there if we'd have blasted off. But now we've got a new lower low. We know, objectively speaking, can't be, but it couldn't have been this. It couldn't have been this back here, right? Just couldn't have been that. So far it looks okay, I think. Might not feel like it does, and it could very quickly morph into a look that does not feel okay, right? A few big red candles down here, and it would suddenly look like it was pretty much over, guaranteed. But at the moment, you know, look, I will say this, look at the sentiment and the concern and the worry amongst investors at the moment, right? And we are still trading above 100K. We're still trading above 104K. So we're not actually that far off the highs right now, not even 20%. We're about 17% off the all-time high, which in the scheme of things, you know, this was a 33% dip, this was a 33%, and there was multiple 20, 25% along the way, right? So we're not even at the 20% threshold yet. If we were, that would put us somewhere around 94K, right? And if we were to get 30, that would put us 86K, kind of a long way down. Feels like a long way down. But even at 88K here, a 30% decline off the all-time high, that would still be high, low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low on the weekly time frame. Like it's horrible to deal with. It's horrible to kind of have to be able to stay on trend for this because of how volatile the asset class is. But objectively speaking, it can do a 30% decline top to bottom, land at 88K, and still be a higher weekly low, you know? So this is the challenge. But the other thing that doesn't fill me with confidence here is there is only 2 more weekly cycle lows before the 4-year cycle, right? Now, not a lot of people will be kind of honed in on this, but this is the objective truth. Once we get a weekly cycle low behind us, okay, there's one here in the middle, and then there's the 4-year cycle low. That's all that's left. So we are extremely late now. Doesn't mean we couldn't get a 2-month blow off top, okay? So we get to the end of October, then we full send for 8 weeks into the end of the year, top up here somewhere. It could even be higher than that, okay? Have a big left translated weekly cycle blow off top, and then decline, weekly cycle, left translation and fail, weekly cycle, 4-year cycle. Doesn't mean this is not a possible outcome, and I think it is. Okay, and a lot of people will be saying, well, why are you chancing it for, I don't know, 30 or 50% upside when the downside is significantly more? But you've got to think, because my position was acquired down here, okay, then every 15K we move up is a double for me. Every 15 to 18K we move up is another 100%. So it is worth me pushing the trade here. But if I got in at 108K, right, and we're now sat at 104, would I be thinking this is the strategy for me? Probably not, because now we've got a potential upside of 40 to 80% if we're lucky, I would say. And the downside from here is probably equal, right? So, you know, to each their own. There is no right or wrong way to do this. It's entirely down to you and your stack and your personal circumstances. I'm, again, just showing you how I'm viewing this and what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm comfortable with. And again, going back here, that makes me think we're at least going to get something like this, okay? And the only thing I'm really confident of right now is that gold is about to top. That's the only thing, because this is extremely vertical, okay, and people are queuing to buy it. Like, you know, if I asked you to write me a textbook example of what a blow off top in gold looks like, you would draw this type of parabola and you would say people are queuing outside the shops to buy it, right? So gold is absolutely about to top, right? That's just, that's the only thing I'm sure of at the moment. The other thing I think is worth mentioning is we are close to a weekly cycle low in the stock market, but look at the strength of this, right? Like, this is so strong. It's unusual strength. So even if we get a good flush and we come down, I don't know, 6 to 10%, we're not going to come down more than that, I don't think. Let's say 6%, then that's still a buyable long into the end of the year. So it seems weird to me that gold is going to top and reverse,
this is going to find a weekly cycle low and attack another high, and then Bitcoin is just going to like die from here into a weekly cycle low? I don't think so. I think we're going to at least get a chance to get a left translation and a failure to get out slightly higher up. I think we're at least going to get that, but time will tell, right? Time will tell. I will also say this: I am absolutely not confident that altcoins are going to do extremely well anymore. I always thought a handful would do well. I'm starting to think that that's not even going to be the case now. And maybe that's a sentiment indicator of being right at the bottom. Maybe, okay? But it just kind of feels like this market has lost a lot of momentum. Maybe this snap here could drive insane amounts of FOMO. Maybe. But at the moment, a lot of these charts look very, very damaged, don't they? Right? Like we're on our way back. It could just be a retest, but it looks a lot like we've got distribution here. Now it could again just continue to range and then explode. We don't know. We're going to have to keep taking it one day at a time. But I'm personally, I don't know. I think the writing is kind of on the wall here for the altcoin space. And particularly if Bitcoin can't do this right up to new highs, then I think we're in trouble. That reminds me, actually, we're not done here. So short term, okay, into the steady cycle low window, wait for a swing and reversal, paint a line underneath it, and then fail that. And I'm taking my money and going to buy other stuff with it. I'm going to treat my wife to some nice things and whatever. Okay. And we'll wait for the 4-year cycle low in 2026 before I reallocate to Bitcoin. Again, I said it feels impossible right now, which might mean it's likely. Okay. And this is the Ethereum to gold chart. Okay. And you can see it's pretty beaten down. But again, if gold is about to top and we're about to find major weekly cycle lows for Ethereum and for Bitcoin, then something like this is not out of the question, okay? It's also kind of weird to not at least run the highs. You would think that they would want to run that liquidity, but I don't know. Because this is a ratio chart, maybe that doesn't apply. And again, Bitcoin to gold ratio here, 1 month time frame, you know, could there be a good 2 strong candles up here to get to 61? Keep in mind, it's going to do at least this just based on gold topping. Right? So I don't think we can discount it yet. If you want to give up on the bullish count, by all means do. I'm just not ready to yet. But again, I tend to be a push my luck trader, right? I tend to push the trade until it becomes unreasonable to do so. I tend to push trades much longer than a lot of people are comfortable with. And it's just my style. Doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. Looks good, send it. Okay, bit of hopium. Or is this possible? Is this possible? I think it could be. The last couple of weeks, huge blow off top. I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm just overly hopeful here. But again, being honest, right? It's not the first time that everyone has gotten bearish into major cycle lows. We did it back here. We did it back here, right? I think we even did it back here somewhere. Like that, the market in aggregate was extremely bearish. And I said, look, I can't be bearish into a weekly cycle low. I have to at least see a confirmed weekly cycle low. Then I can make my judgment. And you know, we did that here. I remember the level 3 members, I paid something like 1-2 stops in a row, something like that, maybe even 3. I think the first one we paid, but it was a profitable trade because we had trades stacked from lower down. So even though the latest edition got stopped, we still locked in a bunch of profit from lower down. Then I got stopped out. And we got here and I said, look, I can't be bearish and call tops, right? I can't do it because I need to see a confirmed weekly cycle low. So the members will attest. I went long here. I said, I've got zero tolerance policy, okay? I need this thing to confirm and I need it to move to new highs. Otherwise, then we can say, okay, we got weekly cycle failure. And so the point is, I could not be bearish until I'd seen a confirmed weekly cycle and it led to higher highs. Lots of people will remember this one. A lot of people were accusing me of cheating my system or moving the goalposts. And I said, no, there's no confirmed weekly cycle here. And I was making live streams at this point, remember as well, begging people not to quit. Okay. And again, it turned out to be okay. And so I can't, in good faith, be bearish here into a weekly cycle low. I have to see a confirmed weekly cycle low. Granted, I thought we had one here, okay, but the market proved it to us that that's not the case, right? The market proved that it just wanted to quickly run up here and then have a decent flush below all the lows. And now we've got a new lower low on the chart. We can't say that was a weekly cycle low that was early, okay, and then a lower low shows up. That's not how cycle theory works. We have to choose the lowest low, don't we? So it now has to be this. Okay, and again, that means I can't be bearish into a weekly cycle bottom. I have to at least see this cycle low, see what happens out of it, and then I can make a judgment. Okay, so it's not the first time, and it's probably not going to be the last. in terms of me needing to see a cycle low before I can make my judgment. I just appreciate that a lot of people are not really capable necessarily of kind of sitting here and seeing what happens and relinquishing control. It takes a lot of time and experience and practice, but that's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to basically weather this storm for a couple of weeks, and so long as we don't come slamming down here below 74k, then, you know, I should be able to get out at least higher up than where we are. We should be able to get at least the first portion of this yellow squiggle play out before a rollover. And if it starts to roll over here, then we can say, okay, fine, it's definitely topped. We're on our way to this weekly cycle low, and we're not going to get new highs. But based on everything I showed you, I'm quietly confident that the top is not yet in. Now, in addition to that, okay, the power law, maybe I'm clutching at straws here. I kind of caught myself. That little snigger then was me laughing at myself, okay? The power law, which I don't believe in, but it fits my bias, so I'm going to present it, right? I'm making a mental note of this. But if you're a believer in this, okay, then this says about 220k by the 3rd of January. Okay, 220k, something like that. And it's not over yet, right? So it could be. And if it did this, Giovanni will go, well, yeah, of course, right? Of course, that's what we knew would happen because of the power law. But we would be able to say, well, yeah, okay, fine, we never got the blow off top. We would also be able to say, well, yeah, made sense because the gold ratio and gold topping. And yeah, it made sense because we're about to get a daily cycle low that was also the weekly cycle low, which we know to be the facts now because it's a lower low below this low, right? So there's my case for, I don't think it's too bad. And I am putting my money where my mouth is, right? I am not just saying this so I can come back after the fact and say, well, I told you so or whatever. All right, that's not what we're doing here. I have real capital at stake, and it's a lot of capital relative for me, right? It's a lot of capital, and I need to not F this up, right? I'm not willing to just allow this capital to be drained down here, right? And so we acquired this capital with the idea that we would ride it higher and then sell it before we give back the bulk of the gain. So I'm still doing that, right? I'm still doing my absolute best to squeeze what I can out of this. Remember though, okay, every 15 to 18k to the upside is another 100%, right? So I do want to stay on trend, particularly if 200k is still on the table. Seems insane, okay? It always seems insane. Admittedly, it even seems insane to me now, okay? I'm just being honest. But again, I'm still trading my system. I'm still not doing anything I don't ordinarily do. I've not changed the rule set. I've not done anything I shouldn't be doing, okay? I'm still waiting to ride the waves, find the cycles, use the cycles to guide me. I'm sticking religiously to my system. I've not deviated from my system. And we're still using the indicator to help confirm that we got weekly cycle lows and daily cycle lows. Obviously, this is going to have to shift because it's the new lower lows we said a million times. But, you know, for all we know, this is coming, okay? Sentiment is pretty washed right now, I'll admit, but that is also usually how major lows form. So that's my case. It also means, of course, short-term members, we have got to deal with some of this, right? We've got to take some profit soon because we definitely don't want to be queuing to top tick this thing like everyone else is. Same deal for silver. These miners are still pushing up and holding their angles, aren't they? Right? So we'll see. And of course, the good news is, there's going to be some cracking shorts here soon as well. And we have finally probably got a 2 drives pattern that's clear and easy to identify for the stock market. So we're finally going to be able to add another long soon, which we haven't been able to do since, when's this? June? The start of June? It's been a long time. It's been absolutely ages since we've been able to do that. Russell 2K position still grinding up, right? That semiconductor position still grinding up. So overall, I think we're actually still on track for a fantastic year. It's just that we can't really afford to give all of this profit back, right? You know, like I said, this is a lot of money, and I need to lock this down. So we're getting there, but again, I can't just jeet the bags into a weekly cycle low, just like I didn't jeet the bags here or here or here or here, right? So anyway, I think I'm starting to repeat myself. I've probably been repeating myself for a while and just didn't realize. I'm gonna have a sip of drink. Whilst the comments fly by me, and then we'll take a few questions and see what's going on. I want to check how long we've been going for as well. 34 minutes. Okay, fine. All right, we'll check the paid ones first. Home Cooking became a member. Thank you, brother. Go and check out what we've been doing in the last few videos and why. You love my work. Thank you, Christos. And that's all of that. We're all caught up. Excellent. When will you cut your alts, Camel? What alts, bro? What alts are you talking about? Fear and greed at 26, weekly low. Different plays. I don't know. If a rotation out of gold and into Bitcoin happens, how long will big players want to push Bitcoin? To be clear, okay, I don't actually think the gold money is going to rotate literally out of gold and into Bitcoin. Like, I don't think people that are selling gold here are going to buy Bitcoin necessarily. I don't think the central banks that have driven this rally up are going to sell their gold and buy Bitcoin. It's just things sometimes take it in turns to rally. And so I think once gold tops, then we will see interest shift over to Bitcoin. But I think it's interest that is going to rotate, okay, and speculation that is going to rotate, rather than the physical gold coming out of the central banks and the central banks buying physical Bitcoin. So I think that's an important distinction to make. How should we act with an altcoin like CAS if Bitcoin is invalidated? I mean, judge it on its own merit. You've got to just do the same thing as always, right? You've got to have a system, stick to the system, whether that's trend line supports, whether that's an area, whether it's a hard stop loss or whatever. You've got to, that's all I can really say, right? Like, you've seen my process for Bitcoin. So I'm saying I need to see a weekly cycle low, just like I always do. I need to draw a line under it once it's confirmed and in, and then we need to take action according to those rule sets, right? So I've got a well-defined rule set, a very clearly defined set of protocol or procedure here, and now all that's left is to not get emotional, watch this thing day by day, and when some of my conditions start to be met, then I have to take action based on those conditions, right? What would be wrong here is if I say everything I've just said for the last half an hour, and then we get a swing and a low and it fails, and I go, oh no, one more cycle low, guys, just one more cycle low, or I start going, oh, I'm just going to double down because I think this is manipulation, right? What would also be wrong is if we get this yellow squiggle play out and up at 150k, I go, no more 4-year cycles, guys, no more 4-year cycles, right? Like, I'm buying heavy here, it's up only forever. Like, I don't believe in the 4-year cycle anymore. That would also be wrong. So it'd be a massive 180-degree pivot away from my plan. But since I've just outlined my plan, now my only job is to trade my plan, right? And so you need to do the same thing with your altcoins. You need to have a plan and then trade that plan. And that plan should encompass, upside, downside, and sideways. And you should have levels for which you're going to take action depending on each one of those things. Hey Camel, early 90, 40, 60 bars pattern on down monthly is eerily similar. Is it? Okay, I'll take a look. I'm not going to do that now though. Fifth time today is the cycle top projected from the cycle bottom. That's interesting. But I also think we've got a major top in February according to that one, right? Am I going to short gold? No, I'm probably going to short the miners, like Newmont, for example. I think I'll probably short things like that. There's a few of those other ones that have gone like hyper vertical, so we'll sort with that. Give you a miner update. Which miners are you talking about? Gold or crypto? Gold prices are because of global instability. Nope, that's false. It's because of central banks and now a FOMO-driven bubble as retail have finally woken up to it. Global recession equals money movement into precious metals. Good luck with that. What if 90% of your cash is in Bitcoin right now? Should I dump? I mean, I've just spent 30 minutes waffling and rambling about hyper-specific situations and how I would handle them. I give you actionable setups for left, down, up, right, and in circles. So you can take that or leave that, or you could do your own thing. I also said a million times, this is just what I'm doing. This is what's right for me, and you need to make your own decisions. But yeah, back over 105k, we pump in 106k. See, right? We all just need a little bit of positivity. If consciousness in aggregate can be positive about a pump here, then we can all group together and manifest a big pump to 220 Kyrgyzstans, right? This could absolutely happen. We just need to decide that we're not going to let these people ruin our spirit. What's the time frame for the weekly cycle low on Bitcoin? I would say we are looking for, 1, 2, 3. Realistically, I would think this weekly cycle low has to form based on where the Brexit is. Sometime between, let's say now and day 66, now and the 6th of November. Okay? And then realistically, look, that gives us, doesn't it, 206-day cycles to here, and then maybe 2 more. Let's copy those. There's 1. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? No, this actually makes sense here. Okay, get rid of that. And that. Weekly cycle low sometime into the middle of 2026, okay? And you'd expect a counter trend bounce, left translation and failure. And then sometime around the 15th of December, plus or minus a month, let's say, we should be looking for a 4-year cycle low. All right, so that's what the weekly cycles are saying. And they've been pretty consistent. They've been challenging to navigate because there's been fake out failed cycles. There's been a lot of little inversions and that kind of thing. We actually discovered something I don't want to talk about, but we discovered something very interesting about when BlackRock entered the market. So yeah, it's been a challenge to navigate that, but yeah, realistically, the spacing between these weekly cycles is actually pretty consistent, and we can see that with 106 days, right? You know, blue arrow is the weekly, 106 days is the pink, and you go 1, 2, weekly cycle, 1, 2, weekly cycle, 1, 2, weekly cycle, 1, 2, weekly cycle, a little bit of leeway here, 1, 2, seems like if we're going to form one any day now, we're back in sync, right? 1, 2, weekly cycle, 1, 2, weekly and 4-year cycle. So yeah, I mean, we've managed to kind of figure it out. This also took a lot of input from Andrew, so I got to shout out Andrew here, Golden Guitars. He was very fascinating and integral in sorting this count out. Chemo was a big contributor to this as well. In fact, he was the one that actually found the 106-day number. So shout out Kemozabi as well. Yeah, we have slowly but surely kind of piece by piece decoded the matrix here, right? And part of that is hopefully about to get even further validated and confirmed here as we're about to find a weekly cycle low. So long as this actually finds a swing here inside this window, I would say all is right with the world. And if nothing else, we can at least have confidence that there will be a 4-year cycle low when we expect it, which, remember, a lot of the market has totally given up on, or they just don't believe in, or they're measuring it from the halving, or from the low to the high, or from the high to the high, or however they're measuring it, but they're not measuring it like this, by chaining together the kind of Russian nesting dolls of smaller degree cycles to give larger degree cycles, right? But so far, I would say like we've got a pretty nice map here for weekly cycle lows. There should be one here, half cycle low sometime around February, okay? Weekly cycle low sometime around May, half cycle low in the weekly cycle sometime around September, and then a major 4-year pivot and weekly cycle low into just before Christmas, let's say next year. Should I keep some gold for the aliens? It depends what race of aliens, right? I think the Anunnaki are supposed to be fans of gold, but I'm not sure if the others are particularly. I'm not sure. The Nordics are supposed to be the beautiful ones, right? So maybe keep some in case you want to find yourself a nice Nordic. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, keep some if you don't want counterparty risk, right? Physical gold means no counterparty risk. I do think it's going to crash 30 to 40% top to bottom once, from wherever the high comes. I think it's going to suffer really badly in deflation. But I still think it's going to suffer. Yeah, I really do. And you could see earlier in the comments, people are saying, well, in recession, gold goes up. But like, not really. Not after a big parabolic rally, not after people are queuing to buy the top, not after deflation sets in next year and that kind of thing, and the dollar's mooning 40% and more to the upside. So can you get a signed bottle of water? Yeah, I guess so. It seems like a weird thing, but sure. You previously said regarding Bitcoin, GDP, ETN, that it would be forced selling in April. what did you mean by this, or what's driving this? You'll have to Google this because I don't actually have the full details. I've never, this is something I heard from somebody else, but I'm pretty sure they've made it so that you're not going to be able to hold them in an ISA. It's either an ISA or a SIP, but one of those accounts, they're going to kind of make it okay to buy any day now. And then by the April, which is just before this weekly cycle low, they apparently, you're not going to be able to hold it in the ISA or something like that, or a SIP. But I'm sure if you Google it, you'll be able to get the answer. I'm not paying attention to it because I'm not going to use the ETNs, but have we answered all of these? I think we have. If you pull one of Kimi's time-based fibs for bottom calling, yeah, we've read that one, Yeah, okay, good. Would you hold Coinbase now? I'm still holding Coinbase now. We've got to get this weekly cycle low out the way and then see what happens from there. Also, I see a lot of people are like really upset that some of these crypto stocks have had significant pullbacks, right? But they're still holding support and they've moved up massively. And I was thinking about this morning. This first pullback on Riot was 30%. And right now, 22%, you know, like you have to be able to give back some open profit in order to stay on the trend. And if we are just going to have a nasty shakeout and then rip again, you know, that would make sense from the weekly cycle perspective. We're not anywhere near the prior highs, are we, for a lot of these? So, but again, there was big, I think Wolf is such a good example of this, actually. You know, it's having a nasty correction right now. Well, I say nasty, looks nasty, 21%, right? I think it was about the same here, right? 19%. This was like 60 or 70%, wasn't it? Right? It's nearly 80%. And it did the same thing back here, you know. In this prior cycle, it moved up a huge amount and then it pulled back 50%, right? Before then gapping up to this huge height and pulling back something like 35%. And then it did another 21% on the way up, okay? So you're kind of going to have to make a decision, you know. Are you going to jeet the bags at every possible opportunity and no way have a chance at staying on a trend like this? Or are you going to be willing to sit through some violent chop here, excuse me, in exchange for potentially capturing that, right? So I don't know. We will see. Objectively speaking, it's very late in the 4-year cycle, which makes me think we're not going to get to challenge the highs, but we'll see. It's just a little too early, right? It's a little too early. Let's ride this wave for a bit. Let's see what happens. You know, I think something else worth pointing out that I haven't said yet. If Bitcoin starts to really tank, okay, and I'm talking about, you see how all this is kind of orderly, right? It's kind of choppy, it's kind of rangy, it kind of like walks down, it walks up, it ranges, okay? If we keep doing that into the weekly cycle low, I think that's very, very good. That's an underlying bullish thing. But if we start to really nuke, okay, if we start to see a 10% downside candle, and then the following day a 15%, and then a 12%, and then a counter trend bounce, and then a 15%, and then a 15%. You know, that would be the kind of spill that makes me think 100% we've topped, right? But all the while, we are still kind of gently, orderly, chopping around, 2% up, 3% down, 2% up, 3% down. This kind of speaks more to having not seen the top yet, just based on my experience. So, yeah, keep that in mind as well, I think. I'm going to do a poll, actually. I'm really curious to know about this, and then we'll go back into some comments. This power law right here, I want to know, do you think there's any merit to this? Like, do you think it's likely at all to happen? Keep in mind, it says about 210, I think, K or 220K by about the 3rd of January, if I'm not mistaken. So with that in mind, I want to know, I'm going to do a poll in this thing, if I can figure out how to. We'll say power law. 220K by Jan. Not likely at all. Literally impossible. Oh, I should probably do... Hang on a minute. Literally impossible. Not likely at all. You think it's, I think it's highly likely, and we'll say, I think it's possible. Highly likely, possible, not likely at all, literally impossible. Okay, Let me know what you guys think. I'll be super interested, actually. Did you get stopped out on any miners? No, our stops are way lower down, aren't they? Way lower down. The top is in your opinion? It could be. It literally could be, right? It could be. And we would know because we'll get a weekly cycle low, a left translation, failure, okay? And we probably won't make another high. Or if we did, if we made a marginal higher high here, that would also be pretty toppy, wouldn't it? Pretty much anything other than just straight to new highs, and we have to pretty much call the top here, I think. Look at the 50 MA weekly. I don't really use MAs on Bitcoin because I think it's too volatile. And so it's such lagging data. You think about how much distance the price covers in 50 weeks as well. Like, what use is a lagging metric like that? Link chart is beautiful. Actually, I haven't seen the link chart, but that's reminded me of something I did want to show you guys. Is this beautiful, brother? I don't know. I don't know. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I don't hold any Tau. I've never done anything apart from clown on Tau, if I'm being honest, okay? But Tau shows a very, very, very nice example of a Dalai Lama. This is actually what I was expecting to see from, let's go 2 hours, I think it'd be better. This is exactly what I was expecting to see from Bitcoin, right? Look at this. We had the spill, obviously that big liquidation cascade from Friday last week. Okay, look at this Dalai Lama. Absolutely textbook. And then off we go. Boom. Right? Like, that is kind of what I was thinking we might get from Bitcoin. Obviously, since then, it's pulling back a bit. But just to hear, I mean, what a textbook Dalai Lama, right? And of all places to see it, we didn't see it in Bitcoin. We didn't see it in like the top coins. We saw it in Tau. So I thought that was interesting, at least. 106k, guys. The bottom might be in here. You know, we might have done it. We just might have found some upside. We'll see. It'd be interesting. I wonder if that. It's difficult because every single exchange has. Doesn't it? Every single exchange has got a different wick. So the invalidation for the llamas is at different levels depending on the exchange you use. Like on my exchange Bitstamp, the one I normally chart here, like we're already at a new lower low, but it didn't have ever a real Dalai Lama wick. Bybit though, this is still valid. This is still actually valid, right? As a llama here. If it does this. So I don't know, it's just funny because no one, including me, thinks we're not going to invalidate it, right? I'm pretty sure. If you ask me how sure I am we're going to invalidate the llama, I would say I'm 90% sure, but technically speaking it's not invalidated yet, right? And if it does start to move higher here, then I'll have to change my percentages. I'll have to say, well, it looks like we're maybe not going to invalidate it. But it's just funny how markets work, right? Like, sentiment changes so much. And you think as well that right now sentiment's where it is. Back here, sentiment was insanely euphoric. Back here, people were calling the top. Back here, it was really the start of no more 4-year cycles, right? And just weeks before that, it was Bitcoin's over. That was clearly the top. And the sentiment is something to behold here. What's this? Yeah, kind of. It's over, folks. See you next year at 40k, maybe. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I hope so. XRP Dalai Lama is still valid. Yeah, valid all the way down to like 40 cents or whatever, isn't it? So that llama doesn't invalidate till 80 cents, roughly, 78 cents. Do you know what I was thinking the other day, though? Remember somewhere in here, okay, there was the OF girls, wasn't there, saying that they had like $1.3 million worth of XRP and that it was guaranteed to go to $8 and then they'll be set for life or whatever. And
in hindsight, now that seems like the most obvious, the most obvious top signal I've ever seen, right? It's always funny because things are always clear in hindsight. The real skill is developing the ability to see this stuff in real time. But if this is fully topped and just bleeds all the way back down to baseline now, right? We will be able to look back here and go, whoa, yeah, like, obviously. Thanks, man. Best of luck with fatherhood. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm really enjoying it. Could I potentially call the recent high as a sneaky top for Bitcoin you were talking about? Yeah, absolutely. It could be the start of like a normal sneaky distribution. The volume profile didn't match though, so that's another point in our favor, right? Please do the miners. And what? Naka. Bro, how many tickers do you want? What miners? What is Naka? Naka? Ast? Bro, what are these? Naka? Bruv, that's going to 0. Ast. Also going to 0. Also going to 0. And is that Meta Planet? Also going to 0. Yeah. All trading below Bitcoin value based on balance sheet. Yeah, they will, because that doesn't matter, right? Remember, MNAV is always it's a made up metric. It's a made up metric. Also, Bitcoin Euro is interesting because it can break 100k. Yeah, Bitcoin Euro. Let's see. I mean, it looks kind of the same, right? I know the Dixie weakness has kind of thrown all of this off, but that will probably reverse soon, right? The Dixie will probably get a real bid when deflation truly kicks in. And then the silver lining for the Euro and the GBP pairings is they will suffer less drawdown during the bear market. So to each their own. Where's the poll gone? So according to you guys, 49% of you think it's possible that the power law could occur. 32% think it's not likely at all. 11% think highly likely. And 8% say literally impossible. I'm surprised there's not more literally impossibles, actually, as it goes. You think it's hopium, just like the last 2 cycles. Well, it could be. It definitely could be. What about MicroStrategy? That looks fully topped. I saw this morning. Look, that looks fully topped, doesn't it? So that's no bueno. But again, no surprise really either. Don't know if you saw my question. I didn't. I saw that one though. How high? Above the range highs. To confirm a llama. Yeah, the other metals would be good. Platinum, palladium, will they follow gold? They're already following, aren't they? I'm also seeing a bunch of traders who are like legit traders online. I'm not going to name anyone, but like people I respect. That's what I'm trying to say. Call in for these things to have only just gotten started, but I don't think that can be the case. I really don't think that can be the case. Platinum doing well, but it's probably got to have a nasty shakeout, right? And then palladium as well. I've seen people saying, oh, this is only just getting started in this move. Like people I really respect as traders. And as a macro move, yeah, maybe that's what they mean. But I don't think... It seems more like we're going to do this, right? This is what I think. I guess we're all just guessing, really. But this is what I think is happening here. I think we're kind of... Oh, man, go away. I think we've kind of done this first kind of move, right? And then soon it's going to have a whopping great correction into late 2026. And then when we start printing, we can start going parabolic. But I think this is kind of what we're doing here. I don't think, for as far as I can tell, everyone seems to think we're going straight up, right? These big accounts are saying, oh, just buy some, we're just getting started, this is what's coming. But I actually think it's more likely this, and then we go.
Of course, I could be wrong about that. Thoughts on DJT ever recovering? I don't know. We'll see. Probably needs a bunch of other factors to go in its favor first. You think it's all good, just not going according to plan for the people that check every day? Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. This has been a brutal environment for tape slaves, hasn't it? But if you're kind of taking your time and not paying attention to the intraday ticks, then I think everything's okay. Fartcoin looks good here. The funny thing is, I bet it does. Compared to a lot of, quote, quality altcoins. Okay. I take it back. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, okay, yeah. So, well, you get what you deserve in life, right? You're going to bid Fartcoin this late in the cycle, then that's on you. What about XME Metals ETF? I don't know. Haven't looked at it. Mooning, right? But again, just keep in mind that there's clearly some levels. I don't even know how you draw this. But I draw it like this. Probably want another one in here too. Bro, that's going to zero. Have you seen the volume profile on TLT recently? I don't use volume really, but lots of trading at the bottoms. I'm not surprised. It probably has bottomed. Please talk about DJT. We need a squiggle. We'll worry about that in the next members video. What's it doing? Oh, you made me curious now. Making me a tape slave. Yeah, it's still just kind of doing nothing, right? Still just sideways since that major low. So, I don't know. It looks pretty wrecked, doesn't it? Let the stock market and Bitcoin find a weekly cycle low first, and then we'll judge it. Same as everything else. You're old, so apologies for not knowing the YouTube tipping protocols. No problem. Thank you for the generous tip. Big options expiry today, apparently. That preceded prior cycle October pumps. Also, MSDR shorts have been printing lower highs for months. Yeah, for sure. I don't know about the options expiries, but I don't know. We must be kind of close, right? If it was like truly over and we were getting massive volume dumping, I think we'd be crashing harder than this. That's my thought. So we'll see. It's also true that the Bresser is close to crossing on the daily. The Bresser is close to crossing on the weekly. And the monthly even could potentially turn up here. So, I don't know. It could be clutching at straws for sure. I mean, the truth is nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. That's why it's so important to have a strategy and stick with the strategy. But yeah, thank you very much for the $10. I really appreciate it. You don't have to do that. Nobody gives an F about Tel Aviv. Yeah, at least I don't. I don't even know what's going on there. I don't need to know. That reminds me, actually, I got you guys a treat at the end. At the end of this, I will post a link to this video, which is about how to avoid choosing a side and giving your energy to this stuff. And I think it's really powerful, and I think it really does make you a much more powerful soul. So I'm going to share that at the end. But that whole I don't give an F about whatever's going on in the world is, that's reminded me. I got a good video for you guys to enjoy. So I'll share that at the end. A little Easter egg. Still holding Jasmine. Yeah, I had like a ride or die position. It was very, very small. I think I referred to it as money I would light a cigar with at the time. I guess it's going to zero. But we did always say it was either going to zero or I was going to buy a car with it. I guess I'm not getting my car. Although never say never, right? I think Big Mike's got a $1.50 target. I think it's impossible, I'm not going to lie. I love Big Mike, but I think $1.50 is probably too high. Bitfarms, any analysis? Not really. I think we just continue to push that trade for a little while longer. Right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. Grand finale. Buy a Cadillac Escalade. Maybe. Thoughts on Rolls Royce? It's not really me, man. It's not my culture. I I'm not a rich man. I'm a poor man with a lot of money, you know? So yeah, not really my culture. Did we miss the VIX trade? No, I don't think we did. I actually don't think we did. I think finally I'm confident in saying this, okay? When this thing tops and rolls over, that will be the time, okay? So what does that look like? It looks like a weekly cycle low here, a bounce to new highs, and then a major top. And so translated to the VIX, it looks like we get this pop, we get the top, we do this, and then we go long into the end of the year, probably before Christmas. I think finally it is time, but we'll see. We'll see. We are close for sure. Yeah, I think so. Did we miss? No, already read that. If the top is in for Bitcoin, if the top in Bitcoin is sneaky versus a blow off top, do you think that means the bears will be accumulative versus straight down? The bear will be... Yeah, I think it'll be the opposite to what... Sorry, for some reason I just couldn't understand your question. If you think about it like this, turn this off. This was very orderly walk, wasn't it? Right, this whole... Oops, what is wrong with me? I did get a new mouse as well. Right, this whole thing was pretty orderly walk, right? Just higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, blah, blah, blah. If we get a distribution top here, weekly cycle low, lower high, rollover, then I would expect it just to do the same thing on the way down. And we would just get another equal walk, orderly walk, I mean, on the way down. So yeah, I'd expect that. Versus if you get a blow off top here, typically like this, and then it violates and does this and this. So I hope that makes sense. Rolls Royce. I meant the stock, bro. Oh. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. I guess I should have seen that coming. Oh, dear. Okay. How do you spell Rolls Royce? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? No. Rolls. Oh my gosh, I'm brain dead. Is that not... What am I doing wrong here? R-O-L-E-S. Nah. What the... Oh, rolls. Like sausage rolls. Idiot. Holy moly. There's no recession for rich people, right? That's what this is. You know what this shows? This shows the have and the have-not economy, doesn't it? Right? Out of the printing and out of the bear market, rich people buy more Rolls Royces than ever, right? That's what this shows. Whilst everyone else is hungry and complaining about energy bills being too high and I can't afford to eat meat this week, right? Rich people are just adding more and more and more of these to their collection, which is, and it's a nice looking chart, but it's a real horrible illustration of this have and have not economy. Oh, apparently we've been here before. Look at that. Bog off. Okay. In here. I will say that it does look potentially broken down. Might be a nice area to take some off until a repair above the downward sloping red. If it repairs, then you get back in and put this here, right? Or even put it like this. That'd get you out slightly sooner. But I think for now, I'd be thinking this might have topped. Been a good run though, right? Been a really good run. Sausage Rolls Royce, exactly. Rolls Royce isn't about the car, it's about the rocket engines. Okay, fair enough. Rolls Royce is produced for the military. Yeah, you can see, look, you can see how highly specialized my knowledge is, right? I know everything there is to know about cycles, and I know nothing about anything else. So be gentle with me. Everyone's just laughing because I've just exposed myself being an idiot. Yeah. Well, I couldn't spell it, right? I couldn't spell rolls, so that was the first clue, right? Like Andrew Tate price target of Bitcoin 26K. Well, I don't know. You missed you missed some non-pinned super chats. Did I? Did I? Oh yeah, thank you very much. Oh, there's loads. Appreciate you, bro. ICP to 0. I don't know. I don't know. What even is ICP? Internet computer. Sounds promising. Yeah, I think so. Straight to 0. Below 0, I would think. Negative something. Is it unironically over? Yes, I think it is, bro. I think it is. Just wanted to say, have a great weekend, bro. Thank you, bro. You too. You too. Your camel indicator has Bitcoin in the green cycle low window. What exchange are you using? Maybe it depends on the exchange. I know IBIT's already in the window, isn't it? IBIT is looking for a low right now in the window. But it runs a slightly different count because IBIT doesn't trade the weekends. But this one... Yeah, this one is aligned with my thinking. I think this is right. Thank you for your help. You do a lot, good sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad it's helpful. Hopefully it's been entertaining, laughing at me, exposing myself as a dummy. Before we go into a bear, shouldn't we be seeing left translated daily or weekly cycle? Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely weekly cycle. We would normally get that. That's what makes me... That's another good point. Like, a left translated weekly cycle here would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? And then we kind of set up that decline into the 4-year cycle. This is very right translated. Very right translated. It could be that this is the left translation. Yeah. It's not though, is it? It's still right translated. So we've gone 1, 2, 3. I don't know, man. I don't know. J, Earth looks pretty from the moon. Does it? Yeah. Sure does. That's been a hell of a trade. I knew this would do well, but I really didn't think it would do this, to be honest. You remember $100 ICP prediction. If Bitcoin... Yeah, crazy. If Bitcoin hits 200k, can Camel face reveal? You don't want to see my face, honestly. And I don't want to show you it, to be quite frank. I don't want to show you it. I'm a... wear all black, hood up, blacked out car, don't look at my eyes kind of guy. I like to exist completely in the shadows, you know. So I don't want to be out and about and somebody like kidnapping me because they think they can get something or whatever. Nah, sucks. I want to be able to disappear, man. That's what I really want to do. I want to be able to just, like I've said a million times, I want to be able to do this whole thing, find the next cycle low, go left translated, and then disappear before the reset. That's what I really want. So doesn't mean I will. I might change my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind. Pepe looks good here. Anza, bruh. Pepe. This one? Wrecked. Rev. Is it still 2 billion market cap? How? Oh no. Oh no. All the way back, isn't it? All the way back to 0 and then negative, I think. I haven't bought a Rolex. No. How's the index looking? Good question. Yes, I'm human. Well, half human. Yep. Lower high, rollover, new low. No changes really, I would say. No changes. Nothing moves in straight lines, counter trend bounce. Remember the call was we would either kind of go sideways here and then get a range break, and that would be an entry signal, or we would kind of get a bump and run reversal, and then this, and then climb back up, and then we'd draw a trend line in here somewhere, or in here maybe, and buy the breakout. But I think we have to go down quite a lot lower because we just went up so much. Like, this was a real bubble. This was like really speculative to the point where I knew people that couldn't afford watches. Okay. Like, these are people that had like very sort of normal jobs.
not specialized in anything. I don't know the word for it, but people that just, you know, have normal regular jobs without any specialization or qualification, like people that really could not afford to be splashing money on Rolexes. I knew people like that were buying Rolexes here, much like people are currently queuing to buy gold, right? And so that's what makes me think that we've got to really, really see further downside here before we can entertain finding a bottom. Come on, Bitcoin. What's this? Is another inversion possible? Yeah, it could bottom any day now if sellers exhaust. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll find out. Thank you for the $2. Wait. How long have we been going? It might be time to go and touch grass, guys. Yeah, I think it might be. We didn't miss any of these, did we? No, good. Excellent. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all there is to say, right? I think in summary, just thanks for coming. I hope you found some value. It seemed like some people did, so that's good. Can you do CRV if I say you're the best dad in the world? I'm definitely not the best dad in the world because I only have 10 weeks experience. CRV, USD. Oh, we've been here before. Range at the top. I think what I said last time I did this was it can stay under this range indefinitely, right? What have you done? My dog's knocking things over. I think it can stay in this range, under this range indefinitely. And the move from here to the top of the range is like 142%. It's not to be sneezed at. But really, no fireworks can happen here until you get a range break. And I have to question if that is even possible at this stage. Could it reach the range? Yeah, I think so, right? Like, that would just be trading in a range. That's what things do. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if it touched the range and rejected again. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it did this. But obviously the real gains that I think people are probably hoping for, like this, require a range breakout, of course. And is that asking a bit much? I think it might be. But again, I'm not an altcoin guy, as you know. I'm normally wrong about this kind of thing. And I can't spell Rolls Royce. Yeah. I also made up my own theory as to why the chart's going up without knowing that they make stuff for the military or whatever. So how much can you really take what I say seriously at all? You've been enjoying seeing Camel do some Twitter housekeeping, the family-friendly Christmas card list getting tighter than the Bitcoin supply. I guess so. You can buy grass if you want. Yeah, that's your prerogative. That is your prerogative. Sorry for the poor word on my question. No problem. Be safe. Don't be driving and typing too much. Could I give the weekly low date ranges for November again? I'm not sure what asset you're talking about. I think you maybe mean this. For November, I would say, I'm guessing you mean Bitcoin. I would say any day between now and the 6th of November, okay? What breed of dog? I have a Staffy. Do I have a cat? Nah, I don't really like cats. You know what I honestly think? I think cats are inherently evil and malicious. I really think that. And I think dogs are inherently like extremely loyal and lovely. And I know some cat people will be like, oh, that's not true. My cat's lovely. But I think, I don't know. The cats I have met in my life are a bit weird. Have you ever seen that conspiracy? We'll end on this and then I'll give you this video and you can go and check that out. Have you ever seen that conspiracy that cats are actually reptiles, like reptilians? Have you ever seen this? So if you look at, apparently all mammals have standard eyes, but then cats have the same slitty eyes that reptiles and lizards have. And then they hiss when all other cats don't, like all other mammals don't hiss like the reptiles. And they were worshipped by the Egyptians. And so the theory is that they might be genetically modified like reptilian hybrids or something. Anyway, I'm not saying I believe it. I'm saying you got to look into it.
Thank you all for being here. Let me give you this link. I highly recommend you go and watch this. I believe it will really, 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 really help you guys out. Cats are benevolent. I don't know. We'll find out. Here, go and watch this video. Go enjoy that. And check out the cats, right? It's not my idea. I got it off someone else. Kind of ridiculous, I know. I'll tell you another one that's hilarious as well. You can go and look into this. The conspiracy is that pandas do not exist. Every panda in the world is actually like a person in a panda suit or a dog painted as a panda. And for some reason, they need to convince people that pandas are real. So you can go and check that one out as well. That's a real one. You know, we're all familiar with some of these big time conspiracies, but there's a lot of there's a lot of real funny ones hiding in there that are little known. So go and check that out. Go and watch that video as well. Other than that, be safe. All right, be blessed, be well, and be happy. And don't be a tape slave. Touch grass, relax. At least wait for a daily close. I'm your boy Camel. Thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.